Welcome back to the Gateway RV Transport Podcast. We're really excited today. We have with us one of our drivers and friends, all the way from
Palestine, Texas.
Okay, Palestine, Scott. So thank you for being here. It's not very often that you get to actually come all the way up to Indiana. We keep you in Texas most of the time. So,
yes, try to.
Yeah.
Not always possible, but
Yeah.
hey.
But we're happy to see you when you're here. So thanks for doing the podcast with us. And we're excited to have you here. The purpose of the podcast, I think we've gone through that, is so that we can kind of just get to know our drivers a little bit better.
Sure.
So some of it's RV, related.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of it is kind of, who you are. Because I think even our less interesting people are actually really interesting. And I think
they are. I've listened to several of the podcasts. There's been some very unique ones.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, seriously.
And we're okay with you, the right type of unique.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to start tell us a little about where you grew up, what that was like.
Well, okay. So I'm actually a Navy brat. My dad was in the Navy in San Diego, so I was actually born in San Diego, California. But you would not guess that from this accent because we moved to Texas. I think I was only 8 months old afterwards. But interesting enough, I had a job out in San Diego for a while. And every time I had to go out there quite often. It wasn't based there. The company was, but I wasn't. But anyway, I had to go out there quite often. And, we'd be going around or whatever. And people would be like, yeah, hey, where are you from? I'm like, here. They're like, no.
You can't fake that. Yeah.
I would just tell them, this is Southern California, right? Where do you think I got this accent?
It's not Southern California.
No, not that one.
And then, so your family moved to Texas. Did you grow up there?
So most of it I did. We lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, mostly in Garland, until I was in the, I think it was the first grade, yeah. And then we moved to a little place called Hope, Arkansas, which is where my mom's family was from. And I lived there for 2 years, I think. Yeah, 2 or 3 years. And then we moved to Texarkana, and that's where I really call home. Because I think I started there in the 4th grade, and that's where, I graduated in that area. So,
okay. And we know you have at least one brother,
Yep.
Brian, whom we're friends with. But you have more? Is this you two?
No. I'm the oldest. There's 2 sisters, and then Brian's the little brother.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Nice. And so when you left high school, did you go, what was your route from there?
So initially I thought I'm going to do the college thing, right? And started down that road, and I realized I took a full load. That was a mistake, and it was not for me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up dropping all my classes, and I had already had a passion for firefighting. I had been in a volunteer department before I graduated high school, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, but you couldn't become a professional, at least where I was living at, until you were 21. And so, long story short, I looked at a lot of options, and then I had some friends of mine who had been firefighters in the service. So I went down and enlisted, and I got a guaranteed job because I told them, if I can't get this job, then been nice knowing you. But anyway, I got a guaranteed job, went in, and I did that for 15 years.
This is the Army?
No, this was the Air Force.
Okay.
So in the Air Force, you not only just like what a city guy would be, but you're also what the guy would be out at the airport, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which the emphasis is actually on the airport part, not on the city part. But you do the exact same. You wear 2 hats is basically what I'm getting at.
And you were stationed in different places doing that?
Yeah, I was stationed twice at Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Stationed up in just south of Fairbanks at Fairbanks, Alaska, at Eielson. And then I was stationed up in Alaska again, but out on this extremely remote island, all 3 miles by 4 miles of it for a year.
Oh, wow.
How did you like that?
Year.
It was extreme at times, to say the least.
Because you're an outdoorsman, you know.
Yeah,
So
I love being outdoors.
So did you love it, or was it just too inconvenient?
Okay, so the tour I did up in Alaska, it was for 3 years up in the interior to south of Fairbanks. I absolutely loved. Now, the only bad thing I've got to say about it is it absolutely ruined me on hunting and fishing for the rest of my life at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than that, though, yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. You just have to learn how to adapt to the environment up there.
Mm-hmm.
But where I was at, it would actually get as hot as 90-something degrees during the summer. But no, not for very long, you know, maybe a couple of weeks at the most. And then after that, because you really have, you have 3 seasons of winter because fall lasts a week. Then you have early winter, midwinter, late winter, and then you have about a week or two of spring, and then it goes into summer.
Okay.
So,
and what island? You said you're on a 2 to 3 mile island.
yeah,
Was it Aleutian Island?
it is. It's not the last one, but it's the 4th one from being the last one.
At the end of the tail.
At the very end of the tail.
Huh. I wonder how our mom lived for a time on Savunga. That's like further north between Alaska and Russia. There's an island right there.
I do.
I'm sure
There's
that's
an
a lot
island
further
called
north.
Little Demede and Big Demede. I don't know if it's near that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the
Because
island.
one of the islands is United States, the other island is Russia.
Oh, okay.
They're right next to each other.
So having a Air Force base there probably is kind of keep an eye on those Russians.
That's exactly what we were doing. No, they have a very unique. They have some unique capabilities, and they had some other unique things up there. But their main job was all about watching the Russians test their ICBMs, because where the landing area is on the Kamchatka Peninsula, which is very close. So we would know exactly when they were testing, because we knew there would be an increase of activity on the base.
Well, what would you do on the base for a year? Like, what was your days like?
Well, there was regular flying going on.
Okay.
There, so because there was a couple other assets out there, so, and I was a firefighter then, and so you still had the base that you had to protect too, you know, just like any city anywhere, you know. So we would run medical calls, the regular fire stuff, and then the aircraft stuff too.
Interesting. How many people would be on this base?
Okay, so military, somewhere between anywhere from 500 to about 700, kind of fluxed back and forth a little bit. Now, during a quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here, the summertime though, we'd have as many as 2,000 people on the base, because they would flood the base with civilian contractors to do projects during
That makes sense.
warmer months.
Uh-huh.
You know, they'd get all the outside stuff done. Now, there'd be a small contingent there during the winter months to finish up on the interior stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It was all about logistics out there, believe me.
Yeah.
It was a unique place.
Huh. That's what our grandpa was. A human capital resource management type of thing. He would go to different bases and gauge how much manpower they needed.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
they either really liked him or they really didn't like him.
Yes.
Depending on.
Yes, I understand that totally.
So, and what you were with the Air Force and for 15 years, you said?
No, that was just a firefighter in the Air
Just
Force.
as with the firefighter.
Yeah.
Then did you move into the?
I went into a different. What I went into next is a dual-hatted job. There's a peacetime job, and then there's a wartime job. The peacetime job was like being an emergency management guy in any city, county, state, like that. And then the wartime job was to train everyone on the post, how to protect themselves against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats.
Whoa.
And
how to protect themselves as an individual?
Yeah, how to protect themselves as an individual and how to protect all the assets that they had to use to generate sorties so we could continue the fight if we were to get attacked with those types of things.
What was the transition from a firefighter to
that? Bean counters.
Okay.
This was in the late 90s. Some bean counter somewhere within the Air Force decided they had too many firefighters, and they were of certain ranks, and it wasn't a fair process the way they went about selecting who was going to be. They just started with the A's and went down. Well, my last name ends with D, so I was one of the upper ones that got called. And basically the conversation went, "Hey, it's been nice knowing you. Either find a new job or see you later."
Yeah.
Now, was this an exciting prospect?
Or no, was it? I was very upset because I loved that job. That was absolutely, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But the new job brought me some opportunities that I would have never had as just being a firefighter, though. So
yeah, that's interesting. So then what was the transition? So you went from firefighting to doing this new job. Yeah. How long did you do that?
I did that for the next 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow into liking it? Or did you?
Yeah, for the reason being, I didn't at first. I'll just be real honest with you. I did not enjoy it. I understood it, though, because it was still emergency response. It just, you weren't hands-on. You were more of the organizational part that made sure all the other parts worked, because you're not talking about just one. You're more trying to coordinate multiple agencies into one cohesive unit to take care of a problem.
A lot more politics, less day-to-day involvement.
Yes, that's part of it, because in the military we don't have politics, but you do have what's the best way to put this? You're trying to massage egos. If that makes sense.
I work with him. So.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
I have a notorious ego.
But your job is to do that. Make sure people are getting their part done and satisfy all the things that need to be done, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and how does that connect to
what I was speaking about earlier?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to say something.
No, I understand totally. I had been doing that job for about, I think right at about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. And like I said, I understood a lot of it already, because even before I went into that, it sounds impressive, but I had been a hazmat tech for over almost 10 years as a firefighter. So what I was talking about, the CBRN part, that's what we call it, is nothing more than a super duper hazmat incident with a specific application.
That makes sense.
So I understood a lot about it already. As a matter of fact, I got myself in trouble when I went to school, but because they would tell me something, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And they were like, what? And I would just start spilling it out, and they were like, well, and then I was like, well, okay, well, back up what you say. Anyway.
How much does a response to like some weapon, some biological, chemical, like how is it the same today? Your training of somebody would be the same today as it was then?
Most of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that what you did? Would you do a lot of like going from place to place doing trainings? Was that a lot of what it looked
like?
No.
So when you're stationed at one particular place, your job is to train everybody on that post. Now, it depending on the size of the base post, whatever you want to call it. It may be, I'm trying to think of the smallest place I was when I was doing this. Okay. So you might be only responsible for about 600-700 people, or you might be responsible for over 5,000 people on the post. And the shop was, we call it a shop or whatever, but the shop consisted of about 8 of us. And we all took turns teaching classes and all this. And this goes on all year long. That's the wartime part of it. And then the peacetime part of it is the writing all the plans, making sure all the stuff is good to go. Because planning is a lot of it. Because we would have to plan for every contingency that you could ever dream of. And being able to handle that, because there's two purposes behind that. One, obviously, you want to rescue people, protect assets, and all those kinds of things. But the last thing is too, well, not the last thing, but the other part of it is too, you got to be able to recover quick enough if there's other nefarious things going on that you can respond to what you're supposed to do for a living. That makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
And did you spend most of your time on the non-wartime, the peacetime side of it?
I would say it was almost 50-50. And then I got deployed several times and so it was strictly. Then when you go to a wartime footing, it's totally different. Almost 90% of your job is the wartime part. And, oh, by the way, if a plane happens to crash off the post in a deployed area, yes, there is some planning that you can do, but a lot of it then you have to coordinate with the State Department. And if you're in a friendly country, obviously. If you're that's a whole nother, if it's an unfriendly country, it's a whole nother animal. But if, obviously we're stationed and we deploy to friendly places, friendly to us. So then it's a matter of, like I said, writing plans to where, you get a hold of the State Department right away and see what can be done and what can't be done. And depending on other things, it's, there's a lot of variables is all I'm getting at that. But that was a small part, but you did most of your wartime. Not only did we train people, but we had to, us ourselves, our other part of our job was to set up CBRN detection networks. So that way, if we were attacked with it, we would know where, when, how, what the quantity was, what it was, all those kinds of things, and then run that up the chain.
So you did that for 9 years, and you were deployed 3 times?
As a firefighter, let me back up, because I was deployed a lot throughout my career. As a firefighter, I was deployed 6 times as a firefighter, and then 4 times as a CBRN guy.
And overseas, how many of that was overseas?
All those were overseas.
All those were overseas?
Oh. Yeah.
What, so as a firefighter, like, where are you getting deployed overseas?
Okay, so when it comes to firefighters, what happens on that deal, it doesn't matter how small the airfield is. If there's so many planes that land at that particular airfield in a certain given amount of time, they have to have fire protection there.
Makes sense.
So, and it was all about protecting the aircraft. I mean, yeah, we did other things too, but that was the main focus because the main focus is to generate, in the Air Force, they're called sorties. So every time a plane takes off, does what it needs to do, and lands, that's one sortie. But one plane may go do 4 or 5 sorties in one day, depending on, they'll swap out pilots. They'll do it's all kinds of craziness at times when they're simulating or when it's actually the real thing.
And so when you're like having to be ready if a plane like catches on fire, like what kind of, and did you actually have to do?
Yeah.
Is that a common occurrence? A plane catching on fire?
No, and yes.
Coming in hot?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you'd be surprised because these are complex operations that are going on. And what I mean by that, just regular flying, sometimes just things happen. We have an engine catch on fire. You may have a brake hang up and a brake catch on fire. Or the brake system may go out. They have to catch the arresting cable. There's all kinds of little things that can happen. So, yes, that happened. We would have emergencies every day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Something going on. Because I was at places that would have, the first place I was stationed at, between the various types of aircraft, I think we had about 300 different aircraft on the airfield.
Whoa.
And one wing of it was a training wing, and then the other wing of it was a combat wing. But they're all flying all the time because the pilots have got to keep up their proficiency. So it's a constant. The airport's there as busy as any big city, or what I'm trying to say, a travel airport like DFW or Chicago or anything like that. Some days it would be that many takeoffs and landings going on.
Wow.
So, now other places that weren't near that busy, but still.
So up to this point, these deployments, where were they at?
Now I'm gonna tell you right now, I went on 2 deployments that were pretty sweet. The rest of them were not in best places, but the 2 really good ones. I went to Norway once for, I think I was there for 3 months, and it was more about coordinating with the Norwegians. You know, we took a certain amount of aircraft over there and supported them, like if something were happening in that part of the world and all that. That was pretty cool. And then I got to go to Holland for 2 months. Another time, it was all about a show of force and coordinating with the Dutch in what we did. And I went with the stealth fighter at that time when they were still in service.
That's cool.
It was very cool. I was the only American firefighter. I worked in the all Dutch fire station while I was there.
Huh.
They all spoke English except for 1 or 2. And most all of them could understand it though, and it was a unique experience to say the least. So, and they were happy because the Dutch guys were, because I had to get them up in the stealth fighter because they have to know how to open it up, how to get the pilot out, how to shut the aircraft off, the whole 9 yards. So they thought I was a hero because I got them access to it.
Yeah, the coolest plane ever. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's interesting. And did you have a family while you were?
Yeah. How? I was married. I got married about 1.5 years after I was in the service. Yeah, 1.5 years or so. And I had a family the whole time.
Would they move with you? They stayed?
If I got on deployments, they don't go obviously. Yeah. But wherever I was stationed at, they moved back and forth with me.
Okay.
And then I was single some because this is more typical than not. If you're in the military for a long duration, it tends to happen because it's a hard deal.
Yeah.
It's hard to ask your family to uproot every 3 to 5 years and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's a hard life to live.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm going to go back. So
go right ahead.
You were in Norway, Holland. Okay. What were some of your other deployments?
So I went to Central America twice. And then the rest of them, I could be a tour guide in the Middle East.
Okay.
I can name more countries I haven't been to over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And these are all Air Force bases that you were going to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All of them were.
All right. That's very interesting.
And you said this was the 90s.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, what's your question?
My question is, so September 11th, where were you?
So, okay, that's a good segue.
Okay.
Because, all right, so now I'm in the job of the CBRN thing. And I had applied to get into this competitive selection unit that's based on the East Coast. And our job was it was basically a force protection unit. And what does that mean to you guys? It means basically that you're there to protect all the assets and people, and so people can operate. But this one was not just your normal one that does that. This is what they call a force multiplier unit. And all that really means is that you bring a lot more cool toys to the fight. That's what it really all boils down to. But we were capable not of complete self-sufficiency, but pretty close to it, because it wasn't just your normal. These guys were all gun toters, except for maybe about out of the 600-700 of us, they were all gun toters except for maybe about 75-80 of them. And they were all these different disciplines that we brought a lot, so that way we could tend to be somewhat self-sufficient. We had our own docks. We had our own mechanics. We had our own supply people.
And they would, and those guys would also have guns.
They'd be gun toters too. Yeah.
So this was in, I presume, I guess, heavy action areas.
So we were tasked with, when that particular unit was created, there was 2 taskings behind it. One was to go in with the 82nd Airborne to help capture airfields, and we would follow up. Either we would go in right with them or right behind them, and that way we could take control of the airfield while they moved out and did other things.
Mm-hmm.
And or we were to go to the highest risk area that the Air Force was being deployed to. It did not matter where or what the situation was. So, with that being said, 9/11 happened. I remember I had been at PT that morning and went back to the house, take a shower before I went back to work. And when I got to the house, I saw the TV. And I was like, well, this is not good. And then went back to work. And, of course, the commander called us in. We had...
Where were you at this time?
I'm at Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia.
Okay.
So, anyway, they called us in. And we had 3 subunits within this big unit, okay? One was always deployed. One was always on ready. And then the other one was in recovery. In other words, they had just come back from deployment. They're reconstituting, taking leave, letting people relax a little bit. And then they would start their training cycle. That's the one I was in. I was in a training cycle at the time. Well, to say the least, the commander calls us in and says, okay, guys, go home. Go through your stuff one last time because we're just waiting. We've already been told we're just waiting on an airplane. That's all we're waiting on is for a transport to come get all of our stuff, and then we're going to be gone. And so that was, if I remember right, 9/11 was it a Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember for sure.
I remember I was
I'm
at
wanting
school.
to say it's a Monday. Yeah. I'm wanting to say it was a Monday because we had PT on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, organized. You had your own. You had to do on the other days. But anyway, so we were on a plane that Saturday evening. After that, so it wasn't a full week.
Headed to
the Middle East.
The Middle East. Okay. Yeah.
So.
Wow. And then how long were you there?
Because of the uniqueness of this particular unit, we ended up going, man, they split us up in a lot of different places, but the particular part of the unit that I was in, I ended up going to 3 different locations before we kind of finally we would go set things up a little bit, hand it off to somebody else, pack up, go to another place, set things up a little bit in a security form, and pack up and go to another place. And then we finally got to a place where, okay, this is where we're going to be for a while. So.
Well, where was that?
On the Gulf.
Okay. So then you spent the next several years. You transitioned from that into another role?
No, I stayed in. Well, yeah, I did. I went back. I did that for like 3 years. This security unit, and then after that, I went and I was on the one of the major commands inspection general team. After that.
Okay.
So
the security unit, so you're there for 3 years. So you would go with the front line in combat sometimes.
Well, so I was there for 9/11, and then I was there for the Iraq invasion too. So we stayed pretty busy because that was pretty tight frame there. We were pretty much deployed almost the whole 3 years I was there.
And you said you had special toys, so I guess it was just unique weapons that were...
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you now, for being in the Air Force, we were more like an Army light infantry unit. It was more like being in the Army than it was being in the Air Force for some of the things that we did. but it was very unique. And I was, like I said, I never would have got to do this as a firefighter. That's just something that was very unique. And I had a couple of special skill sets with my other job that I got called up to different positions during this. So it was a very unique career.
Yeah.
To say the least.
And how long? So you continued in that career path till what changed it?
Well, okay. So when I left that security unit, I was at 21 years. I knew I didn't want to get out yet. And so I wanted to give back to the community. So I ended up going to the Inspector General team, because in that position, you get to go to all these different places and see how they do things and pass on what have experienced and all these other kinds of things. So, and then I ended up I did that for a couple of years. And the last job I held, I went back to a base wing and, was helping train some of the new people and stuff like that of what I did for a living and, trying to shape them. And then I had even kept asking some of my buddies who had retired before. I said, "Hey man, how did you know when it was time to retire?" And they said, "You'll know." And they were right.
Yeah.
I came to work one day and I went in my office and I had a pile of paperwork to do and I started working on it. I was like, okay, that's enough.
The paperwork is always the one that gets you.
Yeah. So anyway, I just filed. And then after that, what do? I turn around, I become a DOD contractor for the next almost 13 years after that.
So it's still
not
a huge
no, it wasn't
total shift.
No, it wasn't.
And then what did you do as a DOD contractor?
The first year and a half, I worked as somebody who supplemented one of these shops I used to work in, and I would help them do whatever they needed because I had held certain positions. I knew exactly, what was what, and so I helped them and helped run. They had an active detection network at this particular installation because it was a high value installation. So there was some new development and detection technology that they had implemented, and I helped run that and those kinds of things. And then I got on, so I only did that for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then I got on as a instructor for software, for specialty software that I used when I was a CBRN guy. Okay. And so then I ended up teaching all services, and we would travel all over the United States and or overseas. I got to teach many foreign governments. So it was a lot of fun.
When you're teaching, whether it's a foreign government,
right,
different people, like, is it like a room full of people, or is it you're sitting down with a few specialized
people? No, it's
people?
A room full of people.
Oh,
usually,
okay.
Well, the classes would be anywhere from, I think the smallest class I ever had was probably 6 or 7. So that was a lot more. We only had to have one instructor because we based it off so many people. You had to have so many instructors. But the biggest class I think I ever taught was about 40-something people. But yeah.
Just like slideshow, clicking through. This is how you use this software?
A lot more than that. Yeah, it's pretty complex stuff. It wasn't just this is how you create a PowerPoint slide. There's a little bit more to it than that.
Is it like sitting down with, like, going through, and you've got a couple of instructors in the class, and
yes,
you're going through one-on-one. It's okay. This is like coaching.
No, it was all mass presentation. But when one instructor was up on the podium actually teaching, they're doing it at the same time. It's up on a big screen. They're having to follow on with their computers to try to replicate what we're doing, and it was pretty involved. Our typical class, our span of instruction would be anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, depending on all the different programs that we were having. Because it wasn't just one; it was several different programs that we were teaching them.
So for that 1 or 2 week after classes, would you hang out with the government, the local?
No. Well, a couple times I took a vacation afterwards. Yes, I got lucky because I'm already there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would take a couple of days off and I'd go look around and everything, stuff like that.
And were you mostly in the States, or was it
Mostly in the States, but I got to go to Europe a handful of times. I went to Korea 3 or 4 times. I went to Japan. Went to Middle East again, like I needed to go there again, but yeah, I went there again.
Is it hard kind of teaching through a translator for the?
So yes, it was a different experience. We taught, when I say we, it was me and a couple other instructors. We went to Jordan 5 or 6 different times. Yeah, and so it was all officers except for maybe just a couple of Jordanian NCOs. And most of them could speak English, not all of them, but we're talking about a lot of technical type of things. And so, yes, we all wore headsets, and we had 2 translators at the back of the room, like in a little booth. They would set up a little booth, and as we're speaking, it was weird because you had to learn to delay your speech so it could be translated and not get ahead, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a different kind of experience. Yeah. I had to do that for Jordanians and I had to do that for Koreans.
Who's setting these up? So if you're a contractor,
higher headquarters.
Okay. And they tell you you're going here and here and here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm curious how that process is. Like, they have people that go out and that's a lot of logistics setting all of these different agencies.
Well, it's not just that, but it's the logistics of even you have to get diplomatic clearance to come over there. You have to, because you're traveling for the government. You're not traveling as a tourist. Mm-hmm. So it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, it's like there's got to be a team of people that are just spending all day dealing with the paperwork of the. Oh man, that'd be a tough job in my mind. It's just dealing with the bureaucracy experts.
Oh yeah. I got pretty decent at it too. I knew what visas I'd have to apply for. And all.
Do you have a different passport?
No, believe it or not, I had when I was in the military. I had a different passport.
Right.
They literally do have government passports, and I had one when I was in the military. Because a certain couple of places that we went to, I don't know why, but that particular nation state wanted us to have a passport when we came in the country. That's just what they wanted. But the rest of the time I had a regular one though. Yeah. Okay. As a DOD contractor, but you had to have visas. And like I said, because that you're there teaching the government, like I said, there would be State Department coordination. There'd be all kinds of things. So,
and did you really like doing the DOD?
Oh, I loved
you were doing it 13 years, you said?
I did that for 13 years. Here's the only reason that I'm not still doing that. The one bad thing that I did not like that Trump did was when he created the Space Force, he did that on a whim. The military doesn't do anything on a whim. There's a 5-year budgetary plan at all times. I mean, they submit a new one every year, but it's 5 years out. So when he created the Space Force, there was no money for the Space Force. So what they literally did, because when the president says do something, they salute smartly and say, yes, sir, and make it happen, right? So what they did, they went throughout all the services, all the branches of DOD, because DOD is bigger than just the services. They have all these specialty little branches, acquisition, testing, all these different things that they reached out throughout DOD, and they started scarfing money up to create this new force. And anyway, so my job got cut because we had a instructor pool of 9 of us, and I think after that there was only 5 of them left, and I didn't live in San Diego, so I was one of the easy hanging fruit to
Well, shoot, but it kind of led you to your dream job.
It did.
Doing RVs.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I tried to do insurance adjusting. I got my licenses. I went to school, the whole 9 yards. I didn't like it. I did work one hurricane. I liked helping people initially because that's what it really is about. But then after the they call them catastrophic events, right? But just the day-to-day insurance stuff, I hated that. Because in my opinion, I'm not saying who I ever worked for. I'm just saying, in my opinion, though, the insurance companies, they don't care what you get back.
Well, the transport side of insurance we work with all the time. We like our insurance agent and stuff, but the insurance industry at the macro level,
and that's the way I felt.
It's it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, because they have shareholders, and I get that, but wow, I think sometimes they go a little overboard on it.
Just makes you think of the scene from The Incredibles when he's
insurance. Exactly. Very much.
What about the shareholders, Bob?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you go from DOD to insurance?
I needed a job.
I
had a buddy at church.
That makes okay. So
who
you knew
did
somebody who
did
did
and he was telling me a little bit about it. And I'm like, man, I can do this, and I did. I worked a hurricane, and that was intense. That was to me, that was almost like being deployed again, though, and that's literally what they call it, even in the insurance industry, because they bring in adjusters from all over, wherever they need, because I worked Hurricane Laura, which is down on the Louisiana coast. And at one time, and this is just the one agency that I worked for, we had 400 people down there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just insurance adjusters, and that was just one company. There's no telling, of all the other companies,
So we have our experience with insurance adjusters, and some are great and some are less than great.
Yeah.
But an insurance adjuster, for somebody listening that doesn't really know what they do, they just know that they're somewhere in the process. How do you simply describe that?
All right. So here's an opportunity, and I do truly mean this. The insurance adjuster, there's somebody that comes out there, they're doing their best to look for damage, and there's certain criteria that has to be met. And that's what it all boils down to. But I will say this to anybody that ever listens to this. When that insurance adjuster calls you and gives you a number, that's just the first step to this dance. Don't ever think that that's the final deal, because it's not. Then contractors come in, they find things that we didn't see because we can't see it, because as they're ripping things up, then they find other things. And to go to repair, you have to rip things up sometimes to go to repair, right? And then they find other things, or they find things that the adjuster just missed, or it may not fit the pricing schedule for that area for that event. And there's lots of go on here. So don't ever think that the first number that you get, that's the end of this, because it's not. That's just the first move in all this.
So if you're say a commercial driver using your own pickup to drive commercially,
right?
You're involved in an accident, an insurance adjuster calls you and says, "We estimate that there's $4,500 worth of damage." What should they say?
They should just, I don't want to say, because I don't know for sure, but what I would do, I can just say what I would do. I would say, okay, I'll get with the body shop and the mechanics and whatever else, and I'll have them call you. Because really, as the insured, you're not the expert. Let the people who do this for a living argue that, because they are in the insurance game too, as the person who's getting reimbursed by the insurance company, and they know how the game is played, so they know how to talk to these folks, and they are experts in their field, whatever that field may be. Vehicles, houses, boats, it does not matter, if that makes sense.
Because we'll get adjusters come out and they'll look at the RV, and usually it's a guy that knows nothing about RVs.
Right.
Like we had a guy come out here. He said the job before that it was a crash where watermelons. And he was saying they have to do each inventory. And he's like, how am I supposed to inventory 1,000 watermelons?
Squashed watermelons.
Yeah. All these squashed watermelons.
That was one thing that really interested me, and I never could figure out how to get into it. There's a whole, because I grew up being around agriculture and livestock. My granddad was a farmer, and I helped him from since I was a little bitty kid. up until I went into service. There wasn't a summer or a winter that went by that I wasn't either helping him plant disc, bale hay, run cows, whatever the case may be. So with that being said, I wanted to get in. There are specialty people that go out and do nothing but farms, and I was wanting to get in on that, but then there was no clear path to do that. And then I got so disillusioned with the way insurance companies work that I was just like, nah, this ain't for me.
Mm-hmm. And then what was the next step from insurance?
Hey, driving an RV.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how'd you hear about that?
My brother.
Okay, yeah.
Because he was doing it for somebody else.
And did he hear about it from Freddie or?
No. We hadn't met them yet.
Oh, you hadn't met those guys. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. We hadn't met them.
But
yet.
he got into it from somebody. That
Yeah,
he
yeah.
knew
I don't know
okay.
how he got into it, but he had been doing it for a couple of years, and anyway, it sounded interesting to me, so I thought I'll give this a whirl.
Okay.
So
And objectively, I know it's hard when you're sitting in an RV transport office, but like, what has your experience been? You're glad you made the move. What this is a good job? What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like to travel anyway, and my wife says, "Well, no wonder all you've done is travel all your life." I mean, because she has told me I get itchy feet bad when I'm at the house for too long at one time. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. But I know what you're talking about.
Sometimes it's healthy to.
Yeah. Well, our dad is that way. I mean, he was a truck driver forever, and I get that way a little bit.
And I did that for a little while too, even before I came to work with you guys. I tried. So, well, okay. I started off working for Bennett,
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah, we know Bennett.
I enjoyed them, but they got to where they couldn't get any loads going down south, and it was hard to get home. You could run to the Northwest all you wanted to, or West Coast all you wanted to, but then to get back down south, it just got really hard, and so we heard about another company, so we went to work for them. I'm not even going to mention their name. They were okay, but I'll leave it at that. And I did a lot of stuff for them, and it was enjoyable. And then what happened? Oh yeah, I broke my pickup, and I just didn't have the money to repair it at the time. So I went to driving a big truck again, and I didn't mind the driving. That was awesome, but there was a lot of sitting, and you can't make no money when you sit.
That's in the. We recently went to a conference and
It's
talked
like
about
in the top 10 concerns from commercial drivers. Sorry,
yeah, that's it. Well, it's like in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah,
even. It was
down like
just on the clock downtime or whatever.
Yeah,
not making any money.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be because you're not just out there driving. You're away from your family because it's not like you're going home at the end of the day. Because, all right, I was based out of Texas. Well, you're not going home when your load is delivered up in Lewiston, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you're waiting on a load to go somewhere else. And I sat in San Diego one time for almost 6 days. It was 5.5 days.
Yeah,
and that drove me insane.
We have people calling me going nuts if they're at a dealer for more than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Well, I mean, I had already delivered the load, but waiting on another load. Because I was working for one of the mega carriers. And they will not, very seldom will they move a truck unless it's a load within so many miles of where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll just let you sit there. And they give you, I can't remember what they called it. It was some kind of pay, but it was basically per diems what it all boiled down to, just so you keep eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't make no money doing that. If them wheels aren't rolling, they're not making either money either, and I understand that. But wow, anyway. So I did that for a little while, and then I was like, okay, and I was sick of being away from home, not making money and everything. So I decided to come back to the RV because I like this. What I really like about it, if I want to run hard, I can run hard. And then, obviously, there has to be loads,
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to run hard, I can get after it, and then I can go home for a week if I want to. or, whatever the case may be. Or if something happens, and this did happen a couple times, something happens within your immediate family and you need to drop everything and go. Well, you're not having to go talk to your boss or whatever. That's one of the great things about doing this particular job.
Yeah. The flexibility is
flexibility is everything in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then so you've been with us now for a year?
Just a little over a year.
Okay,
now.
right on. And try to stay down in the Texas area, but
it's obviously, and I will just say this: when we were running a lot of transfer stuff, I mean, that was awesome. Why not stay down there?
Yeah.
There was plenty of work for quite a while until things changed, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and we've talked about this. One of the hard parts is, well, I guess I won't get into the whole broker thing, but it's
right.
I have my view on brokers in this industry and the pros and cons, but it's hard to compete with people who don't follow the same rules as you.
Exactly. And we can leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just let it go. But that's how it is.
I have a question. Big direction shift though. So you're really active in your church, a cowboy church.
Yeah.
What is a cowboy church?
Okay. Wow. I'm glad I went to some of the different leadership meetings. No, because it is unique. It started, if I remember right, it started right around about the 2000s, early 2000s. The Baptist convention, I don't even know how it came up or whatever, but they realized that there was a big segment of people that weren't being reached in any form or fashion. And it had to do more with country and or Western type of culture. And so there was a movement, the Baptist Church sponsored it. It started off that way, to have a cowboy church. And because it draws a different demographic. Mm-hmm. And it was a demographic that wasn't being openly enticed to come to worship, right? So they started off in Texas, and it's grown subsequently now. I mean, it's pretty big. There's I'm not going to say every state has a cowboy church because that's not true, but most of the southern states have it now, and some of the western states have it now, but it grew out of that. And so we belong to a certain American Family of Cowboy Churches, I think is the main organization that we're affiliated with now. And there's so many things. You got to have three things to actually call yourself a cowboy church. You got to have a place to worship. Mm-hmm. You have to have certain teams, and they don't call them committees in cowboy church. They have teams. And while there might be a team leader, you're that in name only. Everything is by consensus of that particular team. And then they have to bring it to leadership on top of that, and everybody has to agree to it. It's very much, it's different from other churches I've been to, where the deacons kind of ramrod everything. We do have elders in our church, but they're not decision makers. They're there for other purposes. But anyway, you got to have a place. You got to have certain teams, and then you have to have an arena. You have to have an arena, because the whole motto is hoof prints in the arena equal footprints in the church. By sponsoring, you have these different events that go on at the arena where you get a chance to spread the word and all that, and that's how you get people hooked in.
An arena, forgive me for where I'm from, Northeast Indiana. Oh, yeah. What is an arena?
A rodeo arena.
Oh, okay. That's what I figured.
Yeah. No, that's a good question.
Just out connected to the church, or just affiliated?
No, it's part of the church.
Part of the church. Cool.
Yeah, the church I go to, I don't remember how many acres we have, but when we bought the place, well, not we, but when the founders bought the place, I want to say it's 35, 40 acres. And so we have a congregation building, with some classrooms and stuff. That's one building. Then we have a youth building that's tied to our arena. I have a concession stand, and then we have the arena, and then we have a bunch of land where we can run roping steers and all this kind of stuff.
Huh. Oh yeah, I would like next time I'm going down to Texas, so I'm going to try and plan it where I'm over there for a weekend and I can come check it out.
Yeah, I would too.
That'd be really cool.
It's very unique.
Where's the one that you go to?
The one I go to is in Jacksonville, Texas. It's about a 30-minute drive from me.
I think
Can we come with you?
I've driven through Jacksonville, Texas. Is that on? Is that?
It's a little bitty town.
That sounds so familiar.
Well,
to me.
it's not too far, obviously, from where I live.
Okay,
but it's just south of Tyler. Maybe
I have
about.
driven through there. Okay, because I've been through Tyler.
Yeah. It's south of Tyler, maybe about 35 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah. Next time,
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get cowboy boots though first.
I don't.
All right,
Currently.
so
I just
that's-
have hiking boots. Is all
So
I
I
got.
will say that's one of the unique things. All right, so
It's
the
come
whole,
as you are.
It is very
Yeah.
much come as you are, because you have to realize a lot of people, especially of this culture background, they've got cows to feed, horses to feed, everything else on Sunday morning. Those animals don't stop being cared for. So when you come to church, you just come as you are. Now, some people dress up really nice. I'm not saying that. Some people come and, they got other attire on. That's all I'll say.
Sure.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's a come as you are kind of thing. And I think that's one of the great things. That's one of the things that they wanted to open up, because here was a culture that they didn't feel like they fit in at regular church, because you're having to, I'm not saying all churches like this, but you normally tend to dress up a little nicer and all that. But if, or let's say you had cows or horses get out or had to be doctored and you still want to try, when you get there, you may not look too good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make it on church, but you've been dealing with something else all morning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. We and this is also a little bit of a change, because when we grew up in Utah, and we'd go to rodeos. I've never been to a rodeo out here. I assume that they have them. I don't know.
I know
it's
I've
probably
seen
not
some.
the same, because there's a lot of like bull riding.
Yeah, but they have pro rodeo.
Okay.
All
I
over
went to
the
an event in
country.
Ohio.
And yeah. I mean, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
A friend of mine growing up was a
like
PBR
bull riding
rider.
was a huge
Oh,
thing
yeah.
where we were at. It's not like, I don't know. I didn't know none of my friends here rode bulls, whereas growing up, tons of people rode bulls.
Yeah.
Is bull riding a big thing in Texas, I assume?
Yeah.
Because I know it's like out west, it was Idaho, Montana.
But we do have some rodeo people in our church. I don't think any of them are rough. That's called rough stock. Anything it's bulls, horses, things like that. That's called rough stock.
Okay, yeah.
But we have some ropers in our congregation. We've got some really young kids that are doing some pretty amazing things. Two young ladies, I'll talk about in particular. They've been to Vegas a couple of times now to participate in the women's professional rodeo series and stuff. I love seeing their names up on, there's some specialty channels and stuff that you can watch all this. And I love seeing them. I'm like, those girls go to my church.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. They're out there.
And how big is like the community? Like, is this, how many people go to the church?
Oh, ours is not one of the bigger ones. Ours is actually pretty small. We average right at about 200 people.
Okay, yeah, that's
every
enough to where you can. pretty
Yeah.
much
Oh,
everybody.
everybody.
So that's our congregations.
It's usually 150.
Yeah, and I was going to say we vary somewhere around about 150 to 200.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Back
Which I
and
think
forth.
that's kind of about the number where everybody can still know everybody. You start getting much more than that,
right? Because I have been to some mega. Oh, now there's one cowboy church that's in Tyler. Oh my goodness, they hold 2 or 3 services a day because they've got a congregation of almost 1,500 people.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a different dynamic.
Yeah, that's a whole different animal there.
Which that's one of the things. Like I talked to one of my favorite things is I like community, and I think that's when there's the loss of religious community makes it a lot easier to have community.
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to find a substantial community outside of that that provides the things that you're really looking for. That's what I think. Like that's one of my favorite parts about being in a church is there's a community of people that are trying to help each other, and trying to do what's right. There's not these weird motives. There's not. It's just something that's hard to duplicate in another way.
I would agree totally with that because so I ended up moving to Palestine, and me and my wife wanted to find a church that we wanted to go to, and we were looking around, and we're just like, and she had told me about this cowboy church. She grew up, but she had lived in Palestine for a while. Me and her, we actually knew each other in high school. Went our separate ways. Blah 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 blah. We both ended up single. Got back together, and she had been living in Palestine. She was telling me, she goes, "Yeah, I know about this church," and then where we moved to in Palestine, the preacher to that church lived less than about 3 miles away from where we lived, and he had a fellowship. I didn't understand what it was at first because I saw the sign, and I kept looking to see, it didn't have a date, when they got together. So anyway, I ended up driving over to his place, and he told me, "Oh yeah, we do a fellowship on Thursday." So we ended up going there, and then we ended up going to the cowboy church. But what I was going to say is, when I went to the cowboy church, me and my wife walked in there, and the first day we went, when we left, we were like, "This is it," so, because everybody was just very real. There wasn't a whole bunch of pretenses, going on. So,
yeah, right on. All right. Okay, well, I'm adding it to my list of. Don't let that guy in. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm gonna.
He's gonna see you walk through the door and be like, I don't know. If everybody collectively.
No, y'all, please, that would be awesome. Come on down.
That sounds really fun. My two next things when I go to Texas, I want to go shooting with Freddie, and now I want to go to Cowboy Church. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Freddie's good at shooting.
That's what he talked about. How he's pretty involved with the shooting team. And
yeah. He coaches a 4-H team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that sounds fun.
Yeah, he shoots a lot.
Okay, well, I'm
maybe he's got to start practicing. Got to get with him and see if he's got an inside scoop on a good deal on shells. If he gets some sort of good deal on him.
Well, the nice thing, like where Jordan's at. I mean, we go out. It's been a while. We used to at lunchtime we'd come out and shoot out here, just in the back of the yard. But where Jordan's at's a good spot we can set something up, and because we've gone shooting there before too. But,
yeah. There's just kind of a shooting range behind the house.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think that we covered your career, which has been very diverse career. It's a lot of different areas.
Where's in a very general sense, where's one or two of your favorite places you've ever been?
Wow. So I'm going to say this because I have been lucky enough I've got a lot of the Northern Hemisphere covered. Not all of it by any means, but I've got a good chunk of it. And I will say this. Each place has its own type of beauty. Mm-hmm. Even the deserts. I mean, I lived out in the Southwest a lot too, so I could very much relate when I went to the Middle East. It's different, obviously, but the desert has its own beauty too.
I agree.
But now, with that being said, Holland was wow. And the Dutch people were they were super, super nice. And then Alaska it's hard to describe Alaska. It can be a very cruel environment at times, but it is also one of the most beautiful places that you'll see on this earth, And then I've been lucky enough to go to Hawaii. That's pretty nice out there too. But I would say, and then Germany. The south southeastern part of Germany is probably some of the most gorgeous country I think I've seen on this earth.
Yeah.
You've been to Germany?
We were there last summer, kind of Bavaria.
Yes, the Bavarian area.
Yeah,
And it's not
cool.
just Germany.
Yeah.
You're talking Germany, Austria,
Liechtenstein.
Upper Italy.
We did.
You're not going to believe this. I actually worked for the Prince of Liechtenstein when I was in high school.
Oh, no, in high school? What were you doing in high school?
I worked on a farm just outside of Texarkana that the Prince of Liechtenstein owned.
Huh.
Wow! Whoa, that's crazy.
interesting.
I've been to his house.
No, I hadn't been to his house, but no, he would come to the United States about 3 or 4 times a year.
Huh.
For what purpose?
He had a hobby farm.
Uh-huh.
And he had a hobby ranch. The hobby ranch was down in Sulphur Springs, Texas, but the farm was just outside of Texarkana.
Oh, that's cool. So you're working for the people are probably like, is that even a real place?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds made up.
Yeah, it does, but yeah.
We had to. There was when we went because it's very, very small, right?
Yes, it's extremely small.
and there's no passport control. And
now
so
that I'm not sure.
there was like a guy like a gas
well, it's
station.
part of the EU.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's a whole different
and he was
animal.
like, if you want a passport stamp, you pay this guy in a gas station $5 or €5.
Pull
And
out something.
so I was like, yeah, that
feels
doesn't
like cheating.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
you're not
So
allowed
we
to
didn't
do
get
that.
a
Yeah,
we
it
didn't
doesn't
get a
count.
passport stamp there, but
Well, you get your passport stamp with whatever country you originally come into.
Mhm.
But you're right. As you move around the EU, there's no nothing. You just go from one country to the next. And you're right. It's weird because you go into another country, you're like, oh, well, I might stop at a border, and they're going to look at all my. No,
Oh, yeah.
they're pretty much like,
yeah,
no.
that was it. Like when we stopped from there to Switzerland,
Right.
there was a guy. He looked in,
Yeah,
thumbs up, and there you go. Yeah,
Exactly.
And that's
very
it.
easy.
Which I've not traveled. I married a girl from Fort Wayne, so
Right.
all my family's here. But our younger brother was in Bolivia. He lived in Bolivia for a couple of years, and it's pretty funny to hear his story. He's stands out. So he's going through these checkpoints
On a bus,
and there's all these little Bolivians. And then a pale-skinned American,
Big old smile.
and so he has a couple of funny stories. But when the police stopped him and pulled him in and charged him the "I forgot my papers" fee. And,
Yeah. I bet if the Bolivians are on a bus and they see a McCade looking,
yeah.
they're like, oh, good.
So it's
We're going to get
probably-
stopped
I
at
don't-
every checkpoint
It's
now.
probably not very common that they would see.
I will tell you, there was one unique time. I went to Spain to go teach the software. We were teaching some Spaniards, and we stayed for 3 or 4 days after the teaching was over with. Me and my wife did. That was one of the trips that I took my wife with me because that was. Nobody in our area had ever been to Spain to teach. And it was when my boss called me, he said, yeah, this will probably be a one-time and never again thing. Do you want to go? I'm like, oh, yeah, twist my arm.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Of course, I had done favors for him, too, though. They literally called me up one time. It was late Friday afternoon and said, we need you to be in Germany Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, do you know how much that ticket's going to cost? They were like, we don't care. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
First class it is?
No, that's a no-go, but I wish.
Well, I don't know what happens to you when you get back when they're auditing your receipts.
Yeah. But but why I even bring up the Spaniard thing was that was a culture shock for me. Even for me, I had been all over the world, but that one was a little different for me. The siesta thing is not. There's some truth to it, some not. Don't think they all go, lay down and take a nap.
Just to
at
pull out a
noon.
nap.
Yeah, no. But I will say this: you can't find a place to eat in the morning unless it's at your hotel, because there's nothing open in the morning.
Yeah.
And I do remember this too. We have scheduled breaks when we would teach, right? Well, they were usually supposed to be 15 minutes. That don't mean nothing to them.
Yeah.
We'd end up it'd be an hour and a half break sometimes because, that's just the way it went.
It's just a different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't eat supper. I remember me and my wife, we went to this one place and we're like, oh, because we're used to eating right around about 5:30, 6 o'clock, right?
Yep.
And we walked into this place and we're like, yeah, we'd like to get something to eat. And they were like, well, we don't serve dinner till 9. And we're like, or, supper till 9.
Yeah.
She's like, we've got some, appetizers and stuff that you can order. And we're like, okay. It didn't matter, So that was unique is what I was getting at there.
Yeah.
But you don't realize another thing that shocked me, and afterwards I did some more studying. I just didn't do enough studying before. But, there's a huge Muslim architectural influence in Spain because, everybody thinks the Crusades is all about one side going. The Muslims were all the way into Europe several different times. Mm-hmm. So at one time, parts of Spain were under Muslim control. And there's a great, because when I got there and I'm looking around at some of the older type of thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, some of this looks a little familiar here, because I had been to the Middle East quite a few times before I went there.
Like that famous chapel in Barcelona kind of has some of that.
Yeah,
some of that vibe.
Well, so do a lot of their buildings. Their older type buildings have a lot of archways like you see in the Middle East and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of.
That's what I loved about the closest I guess Turkey probably, but Morocco felt kind of like that.
Well, Morocco is more that way, I would think. I haven't been there, but I've seen lots of pictures and it looks that way.
Yeah, really cool.
Been to Turkey.
Yeah, love that.
That's all I'll say about it.
We were in the very touristy part of Turkey, which the English love. When you live in England, getting to Turkey is relatively inexpensive. It's a huge destination for English tourists. But it was.
One thing I will say about Europeans, they think they travel a lot and I've met several of them that have come to the United States, and then they realize this is why Americans don't travel as much. Mm-hmm. They have no concept of how big the United States is until they get over here, and then they're like, "Holy moly! This is like all of Europe." For them. Yeah. Where, they don't think twice about going to France or Spain.
Yeah, because you hear about that. And I kind of get it now. But it's like, man, how could you? Because once you're over there, it's like, I've been all over the United States.
Yeah.
So it's like,
which doesn't sound as impressive as been all over Europe, even though, like, miles-wise.
Because I've talked to several Europeans that I've met over here, and they're just like, wow, okay. Americans are traveled. Y'all just don't have to leave the country, though, to do it. And they don't realize the diverse type of topography that we have within the United States. Because you think about it, I mean,
we got pretty much all of it. Yeah,
pretty much anything close. You could think of.
Yeah,
I don't know if jungle. Yeah, it's hard to make a case that we got jungle, I guess, but
other than
the concrete jungle.
Yes.
We got that.
Yeah. We got some of that.
The most beautiful of all the types of jungles. Yeah, I guess we've got those.
Yeah, that's what I miss about Utah was
there's so much cool
very
stuff
close.
Out there.
You've got salt flats to beautiful mountains to the.
Oh, I spent 2.5 months out the wonderful Dugway Proving Grounds.
Yeah,
that's where our grandpa was at. Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they lived on the base in Dugway.
Yeah, that's a unique place.
I've heard
pretty far out there. I guess.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it was like if I remember right, because we would come to town from, when I say town, to Salt Lake, not some of the other little communities out there. I think it took us almost 2 hours to get to Salt
Sounds
Lake.
Right, yeah.
Or close to it, somewhere right around that.
And we grew up in not quite as isolated, but a town, I don't know, 1,000-2,000 people in the middle of the eastern Utah desert. Yeah, there's not a lot.
In the Brown Hills. Yeah.
Right.
Spend your time chasing frogs.
Yeah, it's probably, is it 2 hours from Salt Lake?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so just different side.
Yeah. It was a unique place out there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. I talk a lot. I love the mountains.
And me too.
Living in Indiana. Indiana's fine. Like, I like Indiana. Our family's here. Our industries are here. Our jobs, all that stuff. But it's like, man, it would be cool to live by mountains or a beach. It's like, that was
one of the great things when I was in the military. I lived in a lot of different types of topography. When I was stationed out in New Mexico, yes, it was down in the desert, but you had mountain ranges on each side of it, and one of them was very alpine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get about halfway up the mountain, and you're just like, okay, we've left the desert.
Got to put a jacket on.
Sometimes, yeah. But now you're in big green meadows with big tall pines and spruce, and it's a whole different animal. You know? And it was the same way. I was stationed out in Arizona for a while, and the same thing out there too. A little bit more deserty, but you could still get up high enough, especially if you went up in the northern part of the state.
Yeah, when you get up to like Flagstaff.
Yeah, you get around Flag and all that area. Yeah.
One of my big dreams is my bucket list things. I'd like to go caving in New Mexico. That would be cool. It's like I listen to this podcast, the Caving Podcast, that they do once a month. They talk about caving, which Indiana is actually a hot spot for caving. Southern Indiana, and northern Kentucky is some of the best. Mammoth caves. So.
Yeah,
but yeah, southern Indiana, it's got caves all over too. But you hear about some of these stories of people caving out in New Mexico. So when I think about New Mexico, that's like the thing I think about is I'd like to go caving out in New Mexico.
That seems so weird to me. Caving is terrifying.
Well,
yes, it is.
I think you got to be comfortable.
I have a whole different outlook on. When I was a kid, my parents took us to northern Arkansas. There's lots of caves and caverns up there, so we went to a lot of things. I had a really good friend of mine who died in a cave.
Oh well, that
and
changes
so it. He was a firefighter with me for a long time. That's not what his dream job was. His dream job was doing something else. He really buckled down. It was a competitive job, and he ended up getting it, excelled at it. He was a combat pararescue guy, and he ended up saving several people as a peacetime part of his job. And but he ended up dying in a cave.
Was he recreationally caving and something accident or Yeah, but even some of the like just tour type caves is fun to do.
Oh yeah,
you see some of that stuff is pretty cool.
I'm trying to think of the one up in northern Arkansas that's really, really Blanchard Springs.
They probably have all these signs. You drive through that area, you see all these billboards for these.
Yeah. This one's a national park, if I remember right, or a state park, one or the other. It's not one of those because there's lots of mom and pop ones too.
Yeah,
up in northern Arkansas.
Well, and it's weird, like privately owned caves. There's a lot of those in Indiana. That's kind of
There's some in Missouri too.
It's like when you own land, how deep do you own the land
to the core?
I
don't know. That'd be interesting to know. I don't know. Also like, is that like mineral rights?
Do I get how far deep until it's no longer my property? It's the same thing. It's like how much of this air is
because mineral rights is a huge thing in Texas.
Oh yeah,
because I've bought land several times down there. I've never owned mineral rights ever, because those aren't sold with the surface land.
Oh,
that's a whole different purchase there.
Huh.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to find out how that. There's got to be some legalities how deep your property goes.
I'm sure. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I just know I've owned land in Texas a couple times now. And I've never owned the mineral rights.
Get to. So if you hit oil, that's not your oil.
Not my oil.
Try to go. And
so the Beverly Hillbillies, is that a lie or?
No, I don't think that was at that time.
It was a different time. You're right.
A little different time then.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this with us. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again. We enjoy doing this. We're getting better equipment so that
it looks good in here.
Hear it. Yeah, but let's see. I feel like we had one more, like a wrap-up question that we've been asking, but now I can't. Any advice to a new RV transporter?
Oh, yeah. Be flexible, and just. When you go to these places, sometimes it is an awesome experience. Sometimes it can be trying. Just be patient with whoever you're checking in with. Because one thing I always try to keep in mind is that this is still a service-based industry, especially our part. To me, this is very much service industry because, yes, they have bought the unit, but you're delivering it to them, and they want it to be, and they want you to have a good attitude. they want you to, and I understand time is money, but at the same time, don't be in such a rush that you come off as being rude, and you get back, most of the time you get back what you put out there. If you put out a good attitude and, hey, what can I do to help or whatever, and if it's just stay out of the way, okay, I'll do that,
I think that's just such a universal principle, and apply that to everything, not just your job. You should be applying that constantly. We talk about this all the time. If you have just 1% of a positive attitude, just try a little bit instead of just coasting through every social scenario. Just put a little effort in.
Yeah. Now I will say this: you can get a bad attitude driving because, as y'all well know, you're out there on the road. People are cutting you off left and right, or not letting you over, or and so you can get in a grumpy mood. There's no ifs and buts about that. But at the same time, these people that you're delivering to, they weren't a part of that. So you just gotta snap to a different outlook.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks again, Scott. If anything else,
problem.
Jordan.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. Catch you on the next one.